Good afternoon. Happy Monday, and welcome to another wonderful workshop session that we have. I am Whitney Middlebrooks. For those who do not know, I'm the Family Self-Sufficiency Program Director with the Lexington Housing Authority. And every month we have great speakers and great resources that we share via our Facebook page, YouTube. But the one thing that we look forward to every month is having a speaker come and give us some really good information that we can apply to our personal lives professionally, and just take this information and apply it to our lives accordingly. Again, I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. For those that are Family Self-Sufficiency Program participants, I would love for you to at least say hello so that I can know that you're in the room. As you know, if you don't say nothing, I kind of don't know you're here, but if you could just say, hey, or just leave an emoji just to see I can kind of interact. And speaking of interaction, we encourage everyone to interact as we are doing this presentation. If you have a question for our presenter today, feel free to leave it in the chat. If we can't get to it at that moment, we'll make sure we'll circle back around. Again, just thank everyone for tuning in. It's a Monday. It's been an interesting year. It feels like it's been forever. I don't know if I'm the only one feeling that way. It feels like a pretty long year, and we're only in March, but I'm excited because this is International Women's Month, and we have an amazing speaker, Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor, with us today. And she actually resides in Southern California. So listen, this is just a pleasure. We are really blessed to have such amazing speakers that participate and want to be able to give this information to our residents in our community in Lexington, North Carolina. Also have Miss Chioma, and she is the B.O.S.S initiative coordinator. You all have interacted with her in some way, or if anything, seen her here every month on live as we again produce these well organized and just really good, heartfelt, inspirational and resource workshops every month. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker. Again, her name is Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor, and she actually facilitated our workshop last year, which was Change Made Easy. Today, she is going to be hosting Finding Hope When You Need It Most. That's such a powerful title, right? Finding Hope When You Need It Most. She is actually make sure I get it right. She is a entrepreneur, a leader. She is a relationship coach. She is a self-proclaimed self-esteem doctor. So we are so excited to have her here. She is the founder of the Women on the Grow Incorporated, which offers outreach experiences, life skills, and mentoring resources to women. And so without further ado, the next person that you will hear from is Miss Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor.
Thank you so much, Whitney, and thank you so much, Sage. Sage, thank you for keeping me in your heart and your mind of the many years that we've known each other. I'm thankful for this connection, to be a part of this amazing program, and I salute you all for what you're providing for our community. And today, I just want to, we're all trying to build our lives. So I always use the metaphor of offering a toolbox. We all need a toolbox of things that we can use to build our lives, to go from where we are to where we want to be. And that bridge is hope. Where you are right now today, but where do you want to go? Now, I'm going to provide some tools to help you cross that bridge, and the bridge is called hope. We want to talk about cultivating hope and cultivating possibilities. If someone were to ask you to define hope, I think some people would say, "Oh, it's when you're optimistic and you've got dreams, and it's wishful thinking and it's daydreaming." And I'm here to tell you, it's none of those things. It is not wishful thinking. It is about recognizing where you are and getting excited about what your tomorrow is going to look like. Hope is having the belief in a future. I'm just going to say a little something quickly about my background. When I lost my son a couple of years ago to cancer, I had to really work hard to believe that I was going to have a future, because it was very hard to think about my future because I was so grief-stricken. But when I got my first grandchild, I was resurrected. I had hope for a future. This little boy needed me to be here and to be present, and he gave us hope. Now, that may sound very incidental to some people, but that's my testimony of understanding what hope feels like and what it looks like, and how some of us can get into a dark place and give up and don't even think about your future. Like, what about this future? I'm too bitter. I'm too hurt. I'm too broke. I'm too devastated. I'm too exhausted. I'm too burned out. I don't believe in my future. I'm watching the news. I'm looking at this. I see what's happening in social media. I've got relatives. I got friends in my ears. Nobody's talking about hope. And so I just really applaud this sufficiency program that is going to give what I call an injection for the infection. That's why I'm called the Self-Esteem Doctor, to give people an injection of hope, an injection of possibility thinking, because hope is not about daydreaming. It's not about being optimistic. It's so much more. And we're going to talk about that today, because hope matters and hope is a choice. Oh, yeah. It's a choice to say, you know what? I believe that tomorrow is going to be better than it is today. But hope is something that we learn. It's something that we also share with other people. And guess what? Hope can be contagious. Just like fear and being cynical and being full of doubt and discouragement, that can have a ripple effect to your family and to your friends and your community. So we're here today to talk about how can we have hope, and to realize that hope is simply thinking about a future. And you know what? When you think about your future, it changes how you act today. I'm going to say that again. If I start dreaming about my future, then there's something I need to do today to make that future possible. So let's give an example. If the news said get ready, there's going to be a storm, there's going to be a tornado, what do people start doing? They start getting ready. They start stocking up on toilet paper and food and water, and they start preparing for a storm, because they believe that something's about to happen, so they start preparing. Now let's look at the flip side of that. If someone were to tell you that you could have a brighter future, what would you start doing today to prepare for that future? Do you see that? There's a big difference. And you have to ask yourself, what am I preparing for? Am I preparing for a life of struggle and limitation? Am I preparing for a life where I'm constantly depending on other people to help me? Or am I preparing for a life that is exciting and fulfilling? And I'm not fantasizing, I'm not daydreaming, but I'm thinking about it. And because I'm thinking about that house, I'm thinking about that car, I'm thinking about that job, I'm thinking about my children having their own room, I'm thinking about traveling, I'm thinking about starting my business. That means today I've got to change some of my behavior. I hope that makes sense. But what happens is that I'm a psychologist, so I understand and I teach about the power of the mind. And studies have shown that we remember the bad things more than we remember the good things. It's a human fact that we focus more on our pain than we do on pleasurable things. So say, for instance, if you lost $100, oh my God, you're like, oh, that was hard. Oh my God, I need $100. But if you found $100, which one do you think you're going to talk about the most? Losing $100. We tend to focus on the pain more than we focus on the gains in life. It's just how our brains are wired. If you went on a trip and everybody's, how was the trip? Girl, the plane was delayed, and I had to sit next to somebody that was just snoring, and the food wasn't any good. And you're focusing on everything that went wrong with the trip, but there were so many other good things about the trip. But our mind tends to focus on the bad. So what I help people to do is to create a new story, because you and I tell stories to ourselves and stories to other people, and that becomes our compass, because how you feel becomes your compass. You go in the direction of how you're feeling. So if you feel limited, if you feel stuck, if you don't feel worthy of having something new, then that's the direction that you're going. And so we have to change the story that we're telling ourselves so that we can create a new map and move in another direction. If you're saying, well, my family, my grandmother, her mother, my grandfather, my cousins, we all were divorced, we all were on assistance, we all had violence, or we had rape, or we had addictions in our family. That's our story. But nobody's talking about the glory. Nobody's talking about the positive. We have to understand the power of our story. What are we telling ourselves? Oh, well, I've been divorced several times. Well, I'm a victim. Well, I can't keep a job. Well, I got a history of addiction. I got a history of can't keep a relationship. If that's the story you're telling yourself, you will have no hope. Hope is telling a new story. Now, there are three parts to hope. Hope is believing that you can have a new future. It's taking action. And it's also setting a goal, a plan to make it happen. But what happens to a lot of people, they say, well, I do want to have a better life. I do want to be a homeowner. I do want to start a business. But then there's a part of them that doesn't feel worthy, doesn't really believe it's going to happen because they're so loyal to their story. And because you're so loyal to the story, you never take action. Hope is not about daydreaming. It's not about wishing. It's about doing something. It's about having a plan and then following through with the plan. It's about getting excited about the future. And if you don't have excitement, you'll just keep doing the same thing every day because you believe that is your story. You've got to believe in a brighter future for yourself. You got to light a match within yourself. You got to believe that you are capable of making it happen. But you see, what I'm talking about is having the willpower to get up and do something. But not only do you need willpower, but you need way power. You need to know what's the way? How do I do it? And I believe that's why you have these sufficiency programs, is to teach you the way to build your credit, teaching you the way to save money, teaching you the way to set goals, because you can have all the will you want, but you got to have a way to do it. And that's one of the things I do every Sunday. Is I have a class I teach now for 2 years. Every Sunday since the pandemic is teaching women the way to do things, not just what you can do, but how do you do it? Because we have to deconstruct. We have to tear down, deconstruct that old thinking. Well, I'm black. Well, I'm single. Well, I'm just a woman. Well, I'm divorced. Well, my baby daddy don't help. Well, my mama don't like me. Well, it's always been in the family. You have to deconstruct that stuff and create new ways of thinking. You have to believe that it's going to happen. And so having hope means being realistic. Realistic means that I have a goal, a plan, but I know realistically there's going to be some challenges along the way. Because if you're not a realist, some people live with fantasy. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get married, and this gonna happen, and this gonna happen, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna write a book, and I'm gonna travel. But you haven't recognized that there's gonna be some obstacles along the way. A realist says, yeah, let me prepare for that. Everything is not going to necessarily go my way. So when you are a realist and you understand that in setting goals, you have to make sure that you protect yourself from distractions, protect yourself from obstacles, because obstacles are going to happen. So what I want to invite you to do is to notice the things that are distracting you. What are the things that are wasting your time? Are you on TikTok all day long? Are you on Facebook all day long? Are you watching the news all day long? Are you gossiping all day long? Are you sleeping all day long? Then you're not excited about your future. Rather than being hopeful, you are hopeless. And so we have to recognize what's eating up my time, because time is money. Time is precious. Time is a gift. There's somebody that didn't wake up today. Ha! Did you hear what I just said? Somebody would love to be where you are right now, knowing that you can wake up and make a choice for your future because you have hope for your future. You got to notice the things that are eating up your time. Another thing you want to do is pay attention to who gets your time because association creates destination. Who gets your time? Who has influence over you? Who gets in your ear gate, in your eye gate, and in your heart? They are helping to shape your destination. And if the same people are having the same conversation about limitation and anger and fear and despair, that's how the news makes a living. The news is not created to focus on the positive. It's not created to focus on hope. They make their money off selling despair. They make their money off creating fear. I don't watch a lot of news because when I do watch a lot of news, I notice that my hope starts flowing down. I start feeling fearful. So I have to make sure that I do not expose myself to those things that are going to kill my hope. We have to know how to have a vision for our victory, to know that we are smarter than we give ourselves credit for. You are a creative problem solver. You've got to be curious. You got to think outside the box. You got to use your imagination. And that's what we did as children. As children, we had creativity. We used our imagination. We said, one day I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna do this, and nobody shuts you down. But what happens is we matriculated through school, we stop losing that sense of imagination and curiosity because the school system teaches us to be like everybody else. The school system kind of washes away that imagination because you're graded. And going back to that idea that we focus on the negative, if you came home with all A's, but you had a D, what do you think the parent's going to focus on? The D. Focus on the bad. Because that's what school system does. And rather than applauding your strengths where you're doing well, society tends to focus on where we're not doing well. And so this creates a sense of hopelessness and a sense of I'm not worthy. Why do I even dare to dream if I do not feel worthy? Now, in creating your goals to cross that bridge from where you are now to where you want to be, you got to start thinking about what will it feel like to be there? What is it going to look like? You see, every week I'm doing Zooms since the pandemic, but before that, I was traveling all around the world. I was gone all the time. I mean, I was gone. But 35 years ago, when I started here locally in Los Angeles, California, I sat and dreamed and I visualized in my mind. I started thinking, what does it feel like to go to the ATM and get some money out? I started visualizing my assistant saying, Jewel is booked. I started visualizing people clapping. I started visualizing people saying, Jewel, your message changed my life. I started visualizing what it felt like to be free from a job I didn't like. I started visualizing what it felt like to have a life of meaning. Before it actually happened, I was feeling it. I was seeing it. I hope I'm making sense to somebody. I didn't get where I am now just by wishing. I got where I am now because I set goals. I began to feel I was worthy and I looked for ways to make it happen. I had mentors. I read books. I took classes. When I had a misstep, I learned from it. I didn't say, oh, this is not fair. I learned from every misstep. I learned from every heartache. I learned from everybody that didn't honor me. Oh, I got little checks and no checks and bad checks. Didn't stop me. I realized that there's obstacles along the way. I didn't live by fantasy. Everybody don't love Jill Diamond Taylor. I'm not for everybody. So I didn't have a fantasy because I was walking in my purpose and my goals that everybody's going to call me, everybody's going to like me. No, I'm a realist. And when you're real with how life is, in other words, you realize you have the eyes to see the real. Realize that it's going to take work to get from where you are now to where you want to go. But there will be challenges and obstacles on the way. But one of the things I learned, the biggest challenge for me was feeling worthy. The biggest challenge for me was owning where I have grown. to be able to say, my tagline is, I was born for this. I didn't always believe that. I didn't always believe that. I didn't, when I got an honorary doctorate, I'm like, why me? And then my circle of people said, Jewel, do you know how much you have done, how much you've accomplished? I couldn't even own it. I was like, really? What, me? You see, so sometimes we're our own worst enemy because we don't see our value. And this is why it's important to be around people that can help you to see a future for yourself. Because the people in my core said, Jewel, you did this, you did that, you did this. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. You see, but if I was around people that were haters, if I was around people that were energy vampires, if I was around people that didn't even love themselves, how they gonna love me? So association is very powerful. This is why I created my organization called Women on the Grow. These women are owning where they have grown. We're recognizing that it is a process. We're recognizing that we got to do the work. They have committed themselves. I have about 30 women every Sunday in the Zoom room from across the country because they know that it is a process and they're willing to do. They want to know, how do I do it, Jewel? Because they know what they want, but they don't know how to get it. When you know what you want, which is the goal, and you know how to get it, and that means that I have the ways to make it happen, and then I believe I'm worthy. Those three things come together to create hope. They come together to create hope. um, I often tell the story of a woman who was jogging down the street every day. She jogged the same route every day. But she always noticed when she passed a certain house, there was this man on the porch with his dog, and the dog would just be howling. Woo! Just howling. And she started saying, what in the world why is this man dog howling in so much pain? So she decided the next day, I'm going to ask, sir, what is wrong with your dog? Why is he in so much pain? He said, well, he's sitting on a nail. She said, then why doesn't he get off of the nail? And he said, because it's not hurting bad enough. And a lot of people are sitting on nails, but it's not hurting bad enough to get up and do something about it. Because I have found that people only change from two things. They only get up and do something from two things. Either they are desperate or they are inspired. It's only two things. The desperation to end the pain, to end a cycle of poverty, to end a cycle of trauma, to end a cycle of limitation. You have either going to be so desperate, but why wait until you're desperate? Why not be inspired by what these programs are offering you? Why not get the knowledge? Why not get the skills? Why not learn so that you can have so many different ways to get to where you want, and then build up your confidence to know that you're worthy? One of the sisters in my tribe confided in me. I take my group, we traveled together, and we went to Hawaii one time. And she pulled me to the side and she says, Jewel, she says, I could not believe how all the women here are so friendly. I could not believe. She said, every day I was waiting for some drama to jump off. I was just waiting. I said, why? She said, because my family was full of drama. It was so much going on. All the women didn't like each other. They were just catty. It was a mess. And she said, I've never been around a group of women where everybody's kind, everybody's getting along. She said, I was just waiting for something bad to happen. And she said, Jewel, I grew up in several generations where women were struggled. They were on assistance. She said, I grew up watching my mother and sisters figure out a system to get this and figure out a system to get that and figure out. She said, that was how they got through life. And she said, when I was in high school, she said, I made a vow to myself. I don't want to live like that. And she said, Jewel, I made a conscious decision that I wanted to be independent of any assistance from anybody, and I wanted to live a better life. She said, but Jewel, here comes the obstacle. My family thought I was crazy. They thought I was uppity. And I had to deal with the resistance. I had to deal with the gossip. I had to deal with people thinking I'm all this and that because I was drawn by a brighter future. I wanted something different than what they wanted. And so she said, I've had to live with the fact that I'm almost like an outcast. But she said, I own my own home. I own my own car. I've got a good job. I went to school. She said, I did so many things to get from where I was to where I wanted to be, but there were challenges along the way. And she said, and still now today, Jules, sometimes I suffer from imposter syndrome, where sometimes I look over my shoulder and wonder, is somebody going to say, oh, you that girl that used to do so and so? Oh, you that girl. And she says, sometimes I struggle with my worthiness to know that I deserve everything that I've gotten because I worked for it. I sacrificed for it. I had a plan and I'm living a much better life. And I wanted to break a stronghold in my family. I wanted to break a generational cycle. And she says, I love them, but I could not. Remember, I said association determines destination. So she had to break away because she had a hope for a brighter future. She wasn't just wishing, she didn't have a fantasy. She's a single mother raising her only child. And she said it hasn't been easy. But I but I love the life that I have now. And I always believed I could have a brighter future. And so, what I would say to many of you, excuse me one second, something. Many of us come from a strong religious um, background, strong religious influences. And what I have found is like sometimes many people are praying to God to do the work. And to me, faith is trusting God, but willpower is trusting yourself. There's some things I have to do. If I'm just waiting on God to do everything, I don't think that's the best way to um, really understand the possibilities that you could have, to understand what it is to have hope for a brighter future. Yes, we should trust God for certain things, but do you trust yourself that you're going to get up and show up today in this Zoom room? Do you trust yourself that you're going to follow through with the exercises and the lessons they're teaching? Do you trust yourself to put that down? You know, you don't need to buy it because you're building up your credit. Do you trust yourself not to eat what you shouldn't eat? Do you trust yourself you won't drink what you shouldn't drink? Will you trust yourself to get off the phone when somebody's pulling you in a negative direction? Do you trust yourself to get up and do your affirmations and your prayer work and your meditation, whatever it takes to center you? Do you trust yourself? Every morning when I get up, you know, I'm doing my own. Sometimes I want to grab the phone and start answering my emails and text messages because I get so many, but I have to have the willpower. Jewel, you come first. Get up and do your exercises. Get up and do your hygiene. Get up and do what you need to do you first. That was very difficult, but I learned my willpower is connected to my self-care, and that I had to trust that I was going to do the right thing for Jewel. Wasn't easy because I had to break habits. In order to get from where you are now to where you want to be, you've got to create new habits and new behaviors, because hope is saying, I believe I'm worthy. I believe it can happen. And I believe there's certain things I can do to get to that brighter future. I hope this is making sense. um, I'm really grateful for this topic because I love teaching about this, because I think so often we hear things, but nobody tells us how to do it. Just trust God. Well, how do I trust God? Oh, well, just get out of poverty. Well, how do I get out of poverty? Oh, well, just get your credit straight. Well, how do I get my credit straight? Oh, you should do so and so, but how? And this is what the self-sufficiency programs are offering you, are the hows. That there are several different things, several different approaches you could take, but you got to get the knowledge. A woman or a man without knowledge will perish. You will not survive if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have connections with the right people that will lead you towards a brighter future. That's what people like me do. I'm a life coach. I am a talk practitioner, a therapy practitioner. I'm an author of 9 books. I'm a conference keynote speaker. I'm a wife of 52 years. I'm a 72. I have traveled around the world. I have done a lot of things that I feel authenticate me to be able to pour into people's lives. And one of the reasons I do it is because I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anybody. My mother died when she was young. I was the oldest of my sisters, so my sisters came to me. I didn't have anybody above me that I could go to. So I had to become self-sufficient. I had to become uh, independent and not dependent on other people. I had to make certain choices. I had to do certain things. I had to learn from my lessons. I had to learn from my missteps. I got thousands of books here. I have read. I have invested in myself. I'm curious. I am determined. I am focused. The main thing is to keep the main thing. And if you want to be self-sufficient, you got to make that the main thing. But you don't set so many goals that you sabotage yourself. Because see, when you're already tapped out, when you're already overwhelmed, when you're already putting out fires, you don't set 100 million goals. You set maybe one or two goals so that you have the satisfaction of knowing that, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I finished it. Because you don't want to set yourself up for failure. Only set maybe one or two goals, small goals. Do not wake up tomorrow morning without having a goal that you set today. Because what you do today is going to determine your future. And if you could have small goals and you feel the victory and you feel the satisfaction and you feel the worthiness and you feel good about yourself, this creates a momentum for more good things to happen. Set yourself up to win. Set yourself on fire. Get clear about what it is that you want. What do you want? And don't apologize for it. Oh my God, I had to stop apologizing for what I wanted. I knew what I wanted and I didn't need anybody to co-sign it for me. But sometimes as a woman, sometimes as a wife, sometimes as a people pleaser, we want everybody, to co-sign and yeah, girl. You're not going to always get the yeah, go girl. You're not going to always get it. You got to know who you are and what you were born to do, the things that you're dreaming about, the things that don't let you sleep. You may want to write a book. You may want to travel. You may want to start a business. Don't let it go. You can do it. You've got to believe in yourself. And so I want to close with giving you some affirmations. I want to allow for some questions. Start thinking about what you want to ask me because I'm here to serve today. But affirmations are powerful. I was teaching affirmations 35 years ago. People said, "You're so weird, Joel." Okay, I'm weird. But guess what? It works. Guess what? The power of the word, the power of you speaking life over yourself, it works. You can call it a declaration, an affirmation, a prayer. I just call it an affirmation. I speak life over myself. And they all begin with the I am, because you have to speak as if you're already that person, as if you're already doing it. You don't say one day, no, I am, I will. You speak in the present and it begins to do a trick with the mind. The mind says, oh, we are? Oh, okay. Because you have to deconstruct that old thinking. So here are a few affirmations. I am grateful. I am excited. I am hopeful. I am productive. I am driven by my future. I am a winner. I am responsible for the quality of my life. I am ready for my income and lifestyle to go to another level. I will persevere. I am a possibility thinker. I know I can finish what I start. I know I can find new ways to abundance and prosperity and peace and happiness. I know I can find a good job. I know I can start a business. I know I can break generational patterns. I know that one day I will thank myself for not giving up. Affirmations speaking life. Now, people are going to think you're weird. So, they're letting you know that they don't need to hear it. You don't need to be around them. Because when you are growing, you're going to make other people around you sometimes uncomfortable. That's part of life. That's being a realist. Do not think everybody is going to be jumping up and down and cheerleading for you. That's not being negative. That's being realistic. That's being realistic. There's a quote I saw, and it says, the very least you can do in life is to figure out what you hope for. And the most you can do is live inside of that hope. not admire it from a distance, but live right in it as if it's you are under the roof of hope. I think that it's so important that we close by understanding that your behavior, the choices you make today, are pulling you towards the future. Is the behavior and the actions and the attitude you have today, is it pulling you towards a future of fear and limitation and a constant recycling of what you don't want? Or is your behavior and your attitude today, the time you're spending today for you, is it pulling you towards a brighter future? It's up to you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. I want to close by inviting you all to go to my website, jeweldiamondtaylor.com. If you are a success seeker, if you are a student of life, I would invite you to be in my study group on Sundays. It's 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Pacific Time. You can email me or text me, and I will send you the information to register. And if there is a financial hardship, I have so many amazing women that we call sister sewers that will sponsor those that say is in my budget right now. There is no hindrance from you learning. You just have to step up. You have to be open. And so I offer that to you. I offer my newsletter I send out every week. So go to my website, jeweldiamondtaylor.com, learn about my inner versity every Sunday. And Whitney and Sage, I don't know if anybody has a question or if you have a question.
I have a good comment here from, I think is it Toshia or Tashia Owens. She says, I always say I have to be my own cheerleader. It's a way I motivate me. So I think that was just a good comment she wanted to leave. She's actually viewing on our YouTube page, and she's finding ways to motivate herself. I'm glad that she tuned in today to receive your information, and we got some good amens on the live as well, and basically in agreement with you.
All
And
right.
that whatever you're saying, what you said today definitely resonated with them, and hopefully some of our participants that I saw in the room today can apply it to their lives, and we could talk later about what those goals look like, because goal setting is a huge component of the family self-sufficiency program. So
Wonderful.
absolutely.
And I think it's great that we are on cheerleaders, but we have to be open to have other people have discernment to know what people can be in our core circle, because there'll come a time, there'll be times when you can't get out the bed. There'll come a time when life will beat you up, and it's like, whoo, that text, that email, that phone call, that card in the mail could be just the thing that you need from somebody that's cheering you on. So it's great that you're on your cheerleader, but be open to creating and cultivating the type of people in your life that are cheering you on.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I
And I'll
want
just
to, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You got it.
I want to really thank you, just based on the fact that you covered so much. You covered the releasing, the letting go of our old identity, and creating space or having space for people who could actually honor the best of us.
Yes.
Because sometimes we are addicted to our story.
As a habit.
And it's a habit to
Mhm.
think a certain way.
Yes.
So I took a lot of notes. I don't know about nobody else. I took a lot of notes. And when you talk about own where you've grown,
Yes. Yeah. That's a process. We have to quiet that chatter in our head from our past, whether it was true or not, whatever lies people said to us or whatever lies we accepted or whatever choices we made. We have to know that's part of growing up. And that's why I said we tend to focus on the negative, not honoring the things that you've overcome. There are women that have overcome abuse, addiction, poverty, but yet they're still remembering. There are women, that made some choices in their life to survive. And if you were in that same situation, you'd probably do it again, but you made that decision based on what you knew at that time. But if that's all you remember and you're not patting yourself on the back and you're not acknowledging, wait a minute, I'm a homeowner. Wait a minute, I'm clean and sober. Wait a minute, I got my credit straight. Wait a minute, I'm no longer, allowing people to talk about me or abuse me or to belittle me. Wait a minute, I raised my children. Wait a minute, I've overcome things, but we tend to focus on the bad. That's it. That's just
And
studies on that.
and on that note, there are things that are how can I say it? They're clues that show who we're destined to be. So could you share about your dad and your name? Because that right there, all of us have that in our story, no matter what has happened. We have
Yeah.
clues of who we are anointed and the anointing we will eventually walk in. So share that with us, please.
Thank you, Sage, because I don't really talk about it a lot because now that you said it that way, it's like it was a setup and I didn't realize it. And my father was a jeweler. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I'm the first of three girls. So I guess because I was the first, I got blessed with this name, all because he had a jewelry store. And so I remember very clearly when I decided to write my first book, which was called Diamond Quotations. I said, now what am I going to write about? And I said, Jewel, your name. Do you understand that what it takes to be a diamond? And as I read his books, I realized that, it's the polishing, it's going through the fire. It's like the diamonds are all, on the ground in Africa, but you got to dig for them or you could walk right past them because you don't recognize what's inside. And sometimes we walk right past the person or ourselves or our gifts because we haven't done the work to polish it and to dig it up and to stir it up and to let it shine. And then as soon as we shine, we're like, oh, I don't want nobody to see me. And we don't realize that we are valuable. We are precious in God's sight. And we need to be precious in our own sight. So yeah, thank you, Sage, because that is the history of my name. People think, oh, that's a Hollywood name. No. Thank you, Daddy. Yes.
I love that. Um, I guess I can open the floor for anyone that had a question or wanted to leave a comment, or I have put her website in the chat, both on YouTube and Facebook. And that direct link will lead you to all of her information and how you can enroll into what is the Sunday sessions called again?
It's called the Inner-versity.
University. You can roll into the university and be a part of that amazing group full of women.
Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't have any questions, or if you wanted to add anything, Miss Sage or Dr. Jewel, if you wanted to add anything before we close.
I can't think of anything. I thank you for the opportunity and I thank you for what you all are doing. And I'm sure that there's a few people, not everybody, because I'm a realist, that somebody grabbed this, somebody caught it. I pray that somebody says, wait a minute, that's it right there. And that there was an opening in their spirit and their mind to do what they need to do. I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful that for some people, it was just a seed planted and they may get it later.
Mm-hmm.
So that the work that you're doing, empowering our community, is so vital and so critical that we infuse hope into our community, because the world, if we just listen to the world, the news, it just could be very full, heart-wrenching and just full of despair. Like, what's the point of planning anything? What's the point of doing anything? And we have to, and when you understand history, you realize that this is part of life. It's, we have to build ourselves up strong enough to be able to withstand whatever's coming our way.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a good note to end on. A comment from, thank you for sharing this with us. Wonderful gems have indeed been dropped today. And I'm also going to add one more link into the live, and it's actually going to be the direct link for those that want to enroll into the university. And it has more details. So if you want the direct link, I'm going to put that in there as well. Again, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back, of course, next month with another great workshop. Again, I hope that you all, again, the seed was planted, or something that you can hold on to and apply to your life, and be able to be successful and flourish.
I'm just curious. So how many were in the room today?
So we have it was about a total about 8 people in and out, and we had like 2 people on our YouTube. You see, I was kind of looking. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
it's
Excellent.
exciting. Thank you all so much. You all have a wonderful day.
Take care. Stay in the light.